like a first step, a next step, for example, would be to actually start looking at how this data would directly be controlled with the mast and navigation computer, for example, and with the end goal to use this data in a closed loop. And what I mean by that is use the velocity data with their navigation computer to control their vehicle. Where we're going, there is no GPS. And so this technology will land you in a predetermined location, like based on some photographs maybe taken from a satellite, the orbiting satellite, before we land. So we may have photography of the area we want to land, but once an autonomous vehicle is trying to get there, it needs to know where that is in the map.
We're very glad to see you. Well, I was hoping to take a photograph of you without a mask.
Yeah, that's the A-frame.
And launch team LC, countdown 1, passing through T-minus 50 minutes to our target T0 for today.
LC Site Control.
Go Site Control.
We're going to be performing a recharge of the rapid retract system at T-minus 35.
Sorry, you faded off there at the end there, Site Control.
We're going to be performing a recharge of the rapid retract at T-minus 35.
Copy, T-minus 35. One LC, countdown 1, step 333. We go to provide our trajectory file for today's launch operation.
LC, GNC1, we would like to select trajectory file 3 for today's launch operation.
Okay, copy that. We'll check 333 and Ops 1, step 334. Here we go to select trajectory file number 3.
LC Ops 1, alternate trajectory file number 3 selected.
LC, GNC1, trajectory file 3 verified in telemetry.
Okay, copy that. We'll check 334, excuse me, and 335. And Ops 1, step 336, can you verify ground to vehicle communication is nominal?
LC Ops 1, ground to vehicle comm nominal.
Copy that. We'll check 336. And Ops 1, Step 336, grounded, Step 337, can you verify orb nav settings?
LC Ops 1, orb nav settings verified.
Okay, copy that. And Ops 1, you go to initialize nav position.
Orb nav position sent.
LC prop lead, cold helium bottle submerged confirmed, step 343.
Copy that. We'll go ahead and check 343.
LC GNC1, telemetry verified.
Roger that, GNC1, check 339 complete. And at this time, I want to report a readiness for gyro compass align, GNC1.
GNC1 is go.
And Ops 1.
Ops 1 is go.
And Elect 1.
Elect 1 is go.
Okay, we're ready for GC align, check 340. And Ops 1, you go to mode orb nav to GC align.
LC Ops 1, orb nav in GC align. iRig is 003339.
And I copy Ops 1, check 341 complete.
And LC prop lead, step 344, start of cold helium bottle charging verified.
Okay, lead, I copy that. We'll check step 344 complete. And TLMLC step 345, let's configure launch vehicle decom source to open loop.
Copy and work. And LCTLM, launch vehicle decom switch to open loop, time 003710. Launch vehicle open loop telemetry being received and nominal.
Okay, TLM, I copy that. We'll check step 345 and 346 complete.
LC, TD on countdown 1.
Go ahead, TD.
Range is green for toxics and debris.
Okay, copy that. Range green for toxics and debris.
LC GNC1, orb nav telemetry verified.
Copy GNC1. We'll check step 342 complete. And launch team LC, countdown net, we're at T-minus 35 minutes to our target T0. Step 347, Ops 1, your go to enable local launch enable button at the failsafe panel and verify local indicator is illuminated.
LC Ops 1, launch enabled and illuminated.
And GSO, step 348, enable local launch enable button at the failsafe panel, verify local indicators illuminated.
GSO, launch enabled and illuminated.
And at this time, I want to verify RCC enable abort buttons are enabled and illuminated. PM?
Enabled and illuminated.
And RSO?
RSO enabled and illuminated.
And FSO?
FSO enabled and illuminated.
And TD?
TD is enabled and illuminated.
Copy all. We'll check 349 complete.
LC Ops 1, master global launch enable verified.
LC Elec 1, launch enable verified. Copy all. We'll check step 350 and 351. And Ops 1, you can stop sending ECU commands.
LC Ops 1, ECU commands halted.
Copy that. Elect 2.
Elect 2 is go.
And we'll go final FTS power on and arm command test. FSO, you go to bring up command transmitter with check channel on.
And work.
LCFSO, Wallops command site on, check channel radiating.
Copy that, FSO. Ops 1, step 355, you go to apply external power to FTSA and FTSB.
LC Ops 1, FTSA, external power on. FTSB, external power on.
FTS external power nominal. LC Elect 2, FTS is safe, configuration verified, check channel being received, and AGCs are nominal.
Copy all. Ops 1, check 358. Step 358, transfer FTSA and FTSB to internal power.
LC Ops 1, FTSA and B, internal power on, external power off. IRIG is 004800.
FTS internal power is nominal.
FSO, step 360, you go to send FTS receiver arm command for 2 seconds, then remove and continue check channel when function removed.
All right, copy. Arm on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark, +1, +2. Arm removed, check channel continued.
LC Elect 2, FTS arm indication received, FTS currently indicates safe.
FSO, verify FTS arm indication.
FSO had FTS arm indication.
Copy that. We'll check 361 and 362.
LC Elect 2, FTS safe and arm, and FTLU is safe.
And I copy R Elect 2. We'll check step 363 complete.
Launch and Cygnus mission to the International Space Station.
Everything's looking great tonight, but before we get in,
And launch team LC, we just passed T-minus 25 minutes to our target T0. At this time, I would like to get a report of readiness for recalibration of engine pressure sensors, MES2.
MES2 is go.
EHS1.
Cygnus. Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan for a 2-orbit rendezvous, a 3-hour fast-track journey to the International Space Station that will kick off an 8-day handover with Chris Cassidy and his 2 Russian crewmates, Anatoly Ivanishin and Ivan Wagner, who we said a moment ago are in the home stretch of their 6.5-month mission on the station. They'll be returning to Earth on the night of October 21st, U.S. time. And right on the heels of that, on October 31st, on the 20th.
Just passed through T-minus 15 minutes. We'll be coming up on our polling for our final count, proceeding with our final countdown in just about 2 minutes.
On the 20th anniversary of the launch of Expedition 1, Bill Shepard, Yuri Gudzenko, and Sergei Krikalev. On October 31st, the Crew 1 mission is scheduled to launch aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. The Resilience Crew Dragon spacecraft with Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and Soichi Noguchi on board, scheduled to arrive at the International Space Station on November 1st. T-minus 14 minutes and counting.
And CMD, I'll wait for your call on 387.
LC, this is CMD. Cygnus is in launch mode and nominal.
Copy that, CMD. We'll check step 387 complete.
Here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, a final go has been passed on to Flight Director T.J. Creamer by the Cygnus Mission Director in Dulles. Both Antares and Cygnus are go for launch. At this hour, the International Space Station flying 258 miles over the South Atlantic, about to swing just to the south of the continent of Africa. Again, at the time of launch, at 8:16 and 14 seconds p.m. Central Time, the station and its 3 residents who are asleep at this hour will be flying over the southern Indian Ocean.
Countdown 1, step 388. At this time, I want to poll to proceed with final countdown. GSO?
GSO, go.
RSO?
RSO's go.
TD?
TD is go.
Prop lead?
Prop lead is go.
Stage 1?
Stage 1 is go.
MES1?
MES1 is go.
GCE?
GCE is go.
ACE?
ACE is go.
Mars?
Mars is go.
CMD?
CMD is go.
LD?
LD is go.
NG?
In honor of KALPANA CHAWLA, whose research on astronaut health and safety during spaceflight helped pave the way for humans to live and work in space, Northrop Grumman is go.
Copy that, Northrop Grumman. We are go to proceed with final countdown. Check step 388. Ops 2, LC, be advised, step 389 is not required for today's operation. Step 390 will not be required for today's operation.
And Ops 2 copies.
Coming up on the T-minus 11-minute mark, that final poll for launch conducted at the Range Control Center at the Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia, as Antares is set to begin its journey of about 9 minutes in duration to deliver the Cygnus resupply craft to its preliminary orbit.
And passing T-minus 11 minutes.
Coming up on the T-minus 10-minute mark, fuel loading complete. The weather is perfect. Everything is all set to begin the journey of Cygnus to the International Space Station.
And T-minus 10 minutes.
No issues being... Once Cygnus arrives at the International Space Station in the wee hours Monday morning and is grappled and then installed and bolted into place, a series of leak checks at the berthing interface between Cygnus and the Unity module will be conducted by NASA astronaut and station commander Chris Cassidy, making sure that we have a tight seal between the Cygnus and the station before he begins the process of opening the hatch to Cygnus and the start of the unloading of the most time-critical experiments and supplies that are being brought up on the Cygnus resupply vehicle.
Copy, site control, check step 394.
Coming up on the 7.5-minute mark until launch. Passing through 7 minutes until launch.
T-minus 7 minutes. And altitude, you go to initialize ground ordnance power supplies.
Altitude, ground ordnance power supplies initialized.
Ground ordnance power supplies nominal.
LC prop lead, VCSO activation verified.
Copy all aircraft lead, ops 2, elect 1, check 395, 396, and 397.
T-minus 6 minutes and counting. Northrop Grumman preparing to provide Friday night lights down the eastern seaboard. Everything is go for launch.
LC site control, aft A ECS transfer to GN2 confirmed.
Roger that, site control. Check step 398. And launch team be advised, step 399 not required for today's operation.
Coming up on the T-minus 5-minute mark.
T-minus 5 minutes. Ops 1, transfer avionics to internal power.
LC Ops 1, avionics internal power on. Stand by for command completion. LC Ops 1, external power off.
Internal power is nominal.
Roger that. Elect 1, Ops 1, open STS umbi loop.
LC Ops 1, STS umbi loop open and green.
LC Elect 2, FTLU and FTS receiver indications are nominal.
Copy, Elect 2. Ops 1, you go to send, all arm command.
LC Ops 1, all arm command sent.
SNAs, ODMs, all arm.
NASA TD, report range status.
LCTD, range is green.
T-minus 4 minutes and counting, everything in order. No issues being worked at the Range Control Center at Wallops.
And launch team be advised, phase 3 dynamic limits will be active at T-minus 3 minutes.
FC command into flight mode.
T-minus 3 minutes and counting.
Auto sequence start. ODM bus voltages and currents nominal.
Copy all. Elect 1, GNC1, verify ready for nav mode.
LC, GNC1, orb nav ready for nav mode.
Roger that. Ops 2, step 414, switch to nav.
LC Ops 2, orb nav switch to nav.
Copy that. Ops 2, check 414.
LC, GNC1, orb nav telemetry verified.
Roger that. GNC1.
Coming up on the T-minus 2 minute mark, Antares systems in excellent shape, no issues.
T-minus 2 minutes on my mark. Mark.
.90 seconds until launch.
T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds. T-minus 1 minute.
Well into the terminal count, T-minus 50 seconds and counting.
T-minus 30 seconds. Mark.
T-minus 15 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
Engine start and liftoff. The SS KALPANA CHAWLA takes flight, sights set on the International Space Station. Pitch and roll programmer in.
Engines at 100%. Attitude nominal, equal subsystems nominal. Engines are steady and nominal, 100%. Altitude, 20,000 feet.
1 minute into the flight, everything looking good on Antares.
Passing through max Q, attitude nominal. Engines at 100%.
Antares passing through the area of maximum dynamic pressure.
50,000 feet. Attitude nominal. All vehicle subsystems are nominal.
Coming up on the 2-minute mark into the flight, everything looking good.
Just passing 100,000 feet. Attitude nominal. Vehicle subsystems nominal. Engines remain at 100%. Attitude nominal. Vehicle subsystems nominal.
Good reports from the Range Control Center at Wallops.
30 seconds to throttle down.
Throttle down is the precursor to main engine cutoff for the first stage. Coming up on the 3-minute mark into the flight.
Engines at 55% thrust.
Standing by for main engine cutoff on the first stage.
Main engine cutoff. Stage 1 separation. Attitude nominal.
Stage 1 separation confirmed from the Range Control Center. Antares flying straight and true.
Antares and coast phase until proper conditions for fairing separation and stage 2 ignition are achieved.
Fairing separation confirmed. Cygnus now exposed to the atmosphere as it continues its trek uphill to its preliminary orbit.
Stage 2 ignition.
This will be about a 2-minute 44-second burn of the second stage engine.
Attitude nominal. Attitude nominal, vehicle subsystems nominal, 140 kilometers.
Coming up on the 5-minute mark into the flight.
All systems continue nominal. Altitude 150 kilometers. All systems nominal.
The second stage burnout is scheduled at about the 6-minute 51-second mark into the flight.
Altitude 170 kilometers, roughly 1 minute to stage 2 burnout. Altitude 184 kilometers, all systems nominal, roughly 30 seconds to stage 2 burnout.
Six minutes, 40 seconds into the flight, standing by for stage 2 burnout.
Stage 2 tail off. Stage 2 burnout.
And Cygnus has reached the preliminary orbital insertion.
Antares will coast for roughly 100 seconds prior to payload separation.
And as you heard, the next major event will be Cygnus's separation from the second stage.
Attitude nominal.
Cygnus has begun its journey to reach the International Space Station early Monday morning.
All vehicle subsystems nominal. Altitude 191 kilometers, roughly 1 minute to payload separation.
Liftoff occurred right on the dime at 8:16 and 14 seconds p.m. Central Time, 9:16:14 p.m. Eastern Time. The International Space Station and its three crew members who are asleep at this hour approaching the southwest coast of Australia.
Altitude remains 192 kilometers, roughly 30 seconds to payload separation. All systems nominal.
At the time of Cygnus's separation from the second stage, the operations will move to Dulles, Virginia, and the Cygnus flight control room under the direction of Mission Director Zach Dwyer.
Cygnus separation.
Spacecraft separation confirmed. The SS KALPANA well on its way to the International Space Station.
CCAM initiated. Attitude nominal. LC, ace out.
All right, Ace, great job calling it out, and great job to the Northrop Grumman and NASA Wallops and everybody else, Mars, on getting this mission off in difficult times. Okay, launch team, we're going to go ahead and proceed now with our post-launch checklist. And prop lead, I assume 425 is already started. And prop lead LC countdown.
We began our warm helium and cold helium purging.
Okay, copy that. We'll check 425 complete. GNC1 LC, step 426. Let me know when you've provided the Antares state vector to Cygnus.
LC GNC1, state vector submission and work.
Okay, copy and work.
LC.
Go ahead, LD.
LC, this is LD. I'd just like to thank the launch team for an outstanding effort. Way to go, team. Thank you, Mars, NASA, and the Antares launch team. Oh, and Cygnus, too. So thanks, everybody. Great job. Carry on, LC.
Thank you, LD.
This is Mission Control Houston. Cygnus now safely in orbit en route to the International Space Station. A perfect launch from the Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. On the line with us right now is the International Space Station's Deputy Program Manager, Kenny Todd. Kenny, good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, Rob. It's great to be with you. Thanks.
Well, Cygnus now safely en route to the International Space Station after that launch scrub last night. Carrying some 4 tons of supplies and experiments, including a couple of nitrogen tanks. Give us sort of the big picture on what's on board Cygnus, why these nitrogen tanks are important, and some of the other highlights for what this supply run will mean for the international complex.
You bet, Rob. First of all, let me offer my congratulations to the entire Northrop Grumman team. It was a spectacular launch. I don't think you can ever get tired of watching these night launches. And as you said, creating the artificial dawn for a few minutes there, it's just gorgeous, And the entire launch team there at the Wallops Flight Facility, again, they just do a great job at launching these vehicles. But yeah, we're very excited about having Cygnus off the pad, on the way, coming to the International Space Station with about 8,000 pounds of cargo, of which over a third of it is really committed to the science and utilization of the space station, and really taking advantage of this low Earth orbit asset where we can do some things in microgravity that quite frankly we can't do anywhere else on the planet. So we're always excited to have new people coming to station and really trying to see what kind of things that they can learn in this environment. So you mentioned earlier about the nitrogen tanks. We were a little anxious to get this flight off the ground because of the fact that it had some additional nitrogen on board. As most people who follow station on a regular basis might have heard, we've been dealing with a pesky little atmosphere leak on board the station for the better part of 3 or 4 months now. Station in general always leaks a little bit, but over the last several months we've seen an increase in that, which anytime you're dealing with a leak on a pressurized spacecraft, you certainly want to know where it is, and you certainly want to make sure that you have enough consumables on board to feed that leak until you find it. And that's kind of where we find ourselves right now, as we're working through several different troubleshooting efforts to try to locate this leak. But getting these tanks on board certainly again helps us up our consumables in the nitrogen area and gives us a little more runway as we try to sort through this issue.
Kenny, the Cygnus vehicle arrives at the station pre-dawn on Monday. This kicks off a very busy period for the station and its crew. If you would, give us a little snapshot of the air traffic control pattern over the next few weeks with crews and vehicles coming and going.
You bet, Rob. Last year we were around this same time frame. I remember doing a press conference and calling last year around this same time frame the season of EVAs, because we were getting ready to swap out batteries and and that was coming with a huge series of EVAs along with fixing the alpha magnetic spectrometer and again, another large number of EVAs. This year we find ourselves really with just a season of visiting vehicles, and it starts tonight with the launch of this Cygnus spacecraft. We'll get it on board here Monday morning, and then on the 14th of October, we'll see our next Soyuz spacecraft with our next crew coming to the space station. That particular spacecraft will actually perform a 2-orbit rendezvous on its way to the space station, which hasn't been done before with a crewed spacecraft. So we're pretty excited to see how all that works. And again, it'll be pretty amazing when you think about a crew launching from the ground here and roughly 3 hours later being on the International Space Station. So we're excited. That's coming on October the 14th. And then about a week later, on the 21st, Chris Cassidy and his 2 Russian crewmates will return to Earth after their approximately 6-month stay on board the station. And Kate Rubens, who will then succeed Chris as being the handler of the USOS segment, will have about a little over a week before we see the launch of the next commercial crew vehicle, which would be termed Crew 1, coming to the International Space Station with an additional 4 USOS crew members. And so Kate will be by herself for a short period of time. She's been there before. She understands Space Station very well and was an
that
excellent
large
crew member
trusted structure next to Falcon 9, and on your screen, it's to the left of Falcon 9 there. That is what we call the Transporter Erector, or TE. The TE is used to roll out Falcon 9 to the launch pad, and it raises it to the vertical launch position and also routes power, fluids, and communication to both the rocket and the satellite. Now let's get a status update on the vehicle.
Good evening from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. I'm John Innsbrucker, Falcon 9 Principal Integration Engineer. Now, the launch vehicle and satellite vehicle teams are ready for launch as we approach the T-minus 9-minute mark to liftoff. Now, this is our 3rd GPS-3 launch, and all 3 have been from Space Launch Complex 40. Now, the spacecraft team performed their functional checkouts of the GPS satellite earlier today, and the Falcon 9 team began their final checks at T-minus 2 hours. Most recently, we completed the poll to proceed with propellant load and launch. This was at T-minus 38 minutes, and all parties were go. So the team at Cape Canaveral began loading propellant at T-minus 35 minutes. We used the same propellants on both the first and second stages. The second stage is primarily a short version of a first stage. That's one of the many reliability features in the Falcon design. Our fuel is a refined form of kerosene known as RP1. Our oxidizer is super chilled liquid oxygen called LOX. We chill it well below the boiling point so we can load more onto the booster, as well as avoid the need to continue topping it off to make up for losses due to propellant boil-off. Now, currently, the second stage that you can see on the screen just above that black interstage cylinder, that second stage is fully loaded with the RP1 kerosene fuel. The first stage is going to continue loading kerosene fuel until T-minus 6 minutes. Liquid oxygen is loading onto both the first and second stages right now. We're also loading helium into storage vessels on the first and second stages. We take this cold helium and run it through heat exchangers on the Merlin engines. That heats the helium up, and that hot helium is used to fill the empty volume in the tanks created when the engine pumps are pulling propellant out of the stage. By heating the helium, it expands the volume that it occupies, and that increases its efficiency. Now, at 7 minutes, we're going to open the pre-valves between the first stage engines and the propellant tanks. We'll begin the engine chill-in sequence. This is where we cool the turbopumps to avoid thermal shocks when we start the pumps at T-minus 2 seconds to light the Merlin engines. And we're inside 7 minutes, and we've heard the call that engine chill has begun right on time. On the GPS spacecraft, the team has transitioned the GPS spacecraft to internal battery power. That finished at about T-minus 13.5 minutes. That is their last major activity that's required before launch. On the range, the eastern range is ready to support. They are green and go. And the good news on the weather, while we've been dodging thick clouds that may have forced a launch scrub, for the moment the weather officer believes that the cloud layers are thin enough and may just get past us that we aren't going to have an issue. We'll continue to listen, but 6 minutes and 19 seconds to go, we should be able to get there. Now, if we do have to call a hold on today's launch, we have a backup opportunity tomorrow. Liftoff would be a few minutes earlier at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time. But right now, all systems continue to be go for a liftoff just past 43 minutes after the hour.
As we mentioned earlier, today's mission is for the U.S. Space Force launching the GPS-3 Space Vehicle 4 payload. Now we'll hear from the Air Force's Lieutenant Colonel Margaret Sullivan and Lockheed Martin's Tanya Ladwig for more information on tonight's payload.
We use GPS every day.
Today, everyone has GPS technology in their pocket.
25 years of space-based position, navigation, and timing, supporting the entire world.
GPS touches the lives of everyday people all the time. It's changed the way we work, it's changed the way we play with over 4 billion users worldwide. We're already preparing for the next generation of GPS satellites with our GPS-3 follow-on contract, and we're inserting greater technology for greater capability.
The brand new United States Space Force owns this premier asset and provides this position, navigation, and timing service to everyone.
We're just over 4 minutes from liftoff. Everything continues to be go for launch. Right now, the clamp arms around the second stage are opening. We are about to retract the strongback away from the Falcon 9. We're going to move it about 2 degrees away. You can see on the monitor the arms are open. We've pressurized the stages as part of that. And right now we are moving away, like I said, about 2 degrees away. At liftoff, hydraulics will then pull the strongback to a position that's 45 degrees away from the rocket to make sure we're clear for liftoff. Now, first stage fuel loading did complete on time at T-minus 6 minutes. We're waiting to hear first stage LOX load complete at T-minus 3, and then a minute later, LOX loading on second stage. Strongback lower has been announced closeout for flight, so the strongback is in position, ready to support launch. At 1 minute before liftoff, you're going to hear the announcement Falcon 9 is in startup. That means the rocket's own internal computers are autonomously controlling the Falcon 9 countdown. Coming up on 3 minutes, waiting to hear how LOX loading is going.
Stage 1, LOX load is closed out.
And we've got closeout of the first stage LOX load. Now, on top of the Falcon 9, the GPS-3 space vehicle continues to be go. They have done their last activity, getting on internal power. They're waiting for liftoff now. Good news, Falcon 9 team, GPS team, we're working no issues on the rocket. And the weather continues to be green and good for launch. That call out you just heard, M1D engines are fully chilled in for flight. That means when we get to spinning the turbo pumps at T-minus 2 seconds, the temperatures are cold enough so that we won't turn any of that liquid oxygen into gaseous oxygen, which would be bad to pull through the pumps. Now, as a reminder, as we come up on 2 minutes, if we don't launch today, we have a backup opportunity tomorrow. Liftoff time would be scheduled at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time.
Stage 2, LOX load closed out.
We're inside 2 minutes, closing out liquid oxygen on the second stage. We're now going to begin draining the liquid oxygen down the strongback, away from the second stage, back down through the lines, making sure that everything is clear out of that strongback for liftoff. And that's what's going to be creating the white clouds that you can see around the rocket right now coming off of the strongback as we vent the gaseous oxygen that's very cold, and it meets the warm, humid Florida air, and you get the big white clouds of condensation. That's normal for us. Next major activity again at T-minus 1 minute will be in startup. First and second stages will also begin to pressurize for launch.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There's a call out. We've gone into startup. Next up, SpaceX Launch Director gives the final go for launch.
This is the mission director. Go for launch.
We're coming up at T-minus 30 seconds. Everything looking good. All systems are go for launch of Falcon 9 with the GPS-3 space vehicle number 4.
Stage 1 flight press.
15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and we have an abort. All agencies stand by.
As you can see right now, it's T-minus 2 seconds. We did not get to T-minus 0. We heard the call out of an abort. They're currently safing the vehicle. We're going to be listening to hear if we can get some more information. John Innsbrucker back again. You can see the clock is reset to T-minus 15. That doesn't mean that we are going to attempt another launch. We are going to scrub for tonight because we'll be out of the window. However, that's where the clock resets to as they begin safing the vehicle. Right now the team is busy making sure that the automated sequences to safe the launch vehicle are underway. We did not get down to T0. We did not try to launch. We had the abort, as you saw on the screen, at about T-minus 2 seconds, which is just the start as we get into the engine ignition sequence. Now for Falcon 9, lighting rocket engines and then shutting them down is fairly normal. We do this in Texas when we test the stages. We also do this when we static fire the Falcon 9 on the launch pad, as we did with this rocket several days ago. So going through the sequence to safe the vehicle is fairly standard for the launch team. We're hoping that we may get an announcement from the launch director a little bit later over the countdown net. John Innsbrucker again back here at the webcast desk in SpaceX headquarters, Hawthorne, California. If you're just joining us, you can see T-minus 15 minutes.
The mission director is clear to scrub following today's abort. Stand by for discussion on recycle.
We've just heard the SpaceX Launch Director on the countdown net announce what we talked about earlier. We have a scrub for the evening. If you're with us, we got down to about T-minus 2 seconds approximately. We haven't seen the actual shutdown time. We were just starting the engine ignition sequence when we had a hold. We then began safing. We did not get into lighting all 9 of the Merlin rocket engines. Right now we're waiting to hear if there's anybody else coming up on the countdown net, but it doesn't appear so. So we did scrub, or we did hold the countdown at about T-minus 2 seconds. Because our window only lasted 15 minutes tonight and we don't know how to quickly solve the issue and try to recycle the launch, plus we had already loaded propellant and we can't hold once we do that, we are scrubbed for the night, as you heard just a moment ago from the SpaceX Launch Director on the countdown net. We're going to hold on for just a little bit more, see if we can bring you any other information. Right now we're still waiting to find out whether it was a ground or a flight vehicle issue that caused us to hold the countdown and scrub for the night. John Innsbrucker with you again from the webcast desk here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Well, we dodged the weather tonight. We got down to almost T0, but we held at approximately T-minus 2 seconds as we were getting ready to ignite the 9 Merlin 1D engines that would then take us to lift off and out into space. We are in a safing process right now, fairly standard for the Falcon 9. We've run this on the vehicle many times, those who have maybe seen static fires with us before. The vehicle is safe. Team is working through to make sure that they get all the steps complete. We did hear from the launch director, just reiterating that because of the hold at T-minus 2 seconds, we and the Space Force mission director have gone ahead and scrubbed the launch for the evening. Now, right now, the vehicle is being saved. Doesn't appear to be any issues on the launch pad, but that does end our launch opportunity for tonight. Now, our next launch opportunity is Saturday, tomorrow, at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, we're not sure yet if we're going to recycle and try to launch in about 24 hours. The team's going to have to work through the issues, figure out whether or not we have to go inspect anything on the launch pad, how quickly we can do that. But we still have the possibility that we'll be protecting of trying to be able to go 24 hours from now. So whenever we do get another chance to launch Falcon 9 with GPS-3 Satellite Vehicle 4, hopefully you'll join us again at that next attempt. But until then, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
But that is our entire list of super chats. I did say that those were going to the queue. I did not want to miss out on that. I know we are able to do this launch coverage, all the different ways that we do launch coverage. We're able to do it because y'all keep showing up. You like the tweets, you ask cool questions in chat, you just show up, you like and subscribe, the little thumbs up button and all the different things you can do. But the super chats there, definitely wanted to make sure I got through reading those off. So really, final recap here tonight, we saw that launch of the Cygnus supply mission with NG-14 carrying supplies up the International Space Station aboard that Northrop Grumman Antares rocket. That was a successful launch that went up already this evening. We were hoping to have a double header, but unfortunately it's T+, and I don't see a clean launch pad like right now. I still see a Falcon 9 rocket on that launch pad. Falcon 9 carrying GPS SV04 officially scrubbed for the evening. Still, have we gotten any details on exactly why the scrub occurred, or have we not heard that yet, Studio?
I have not seen anything. If anybody else has, let me know. But again, it aborted at T minus 2 seconds, which is right when the engine startup sequence begins. So something, the abort was called around when the engine started up, but we don't know if the engines would have caused the abort.
Right. So we will stand by for a official word from SpaceX. Probably be a little bit.
Just real quick, Michael.
Kind thanks go to Brilliant for sponsoring today's episode. Today, amongst other things, I'll explain to you what makes SpaceX's Super Heavy booster special and how SpaceX will build it.
What about it? Go launch. Or go for launch. Let's light this candle. Ignition sequence start.
My name is Felix and I am your host for today's episode of What About It? And as always, there has been a lot going on in the space industry lately, so let's dive right in. Starship updates. There's a difference between to compete with and to keep up with. Before SpaceX's Starship program, it was hard for launch providers to compete with SpaceX. If Starships actually turn out to be a working solution, it won't be about competing anymore. For other launch providers, it will turn into a mandatory effort of trying to keep up with SpaceX. But why?
For the landing and anti-burns, but the remaining 6 engines get their T-tab from the pad. It would be a matter of how much supply the T-tab at the pad has to those engines.
And excellent. And we have to wrap it up. People are beginning to line up.
All righty, good
to
deal.
Caravan out. So we're going to have to call it on our end. Yeah.
Good deal. So Chris, Thomas, Julia, and Steven out there at the Cape, thank you all so much for being out there, bringing us the live stream this evening. You know we'll be back whenever we get a second chance, but that is going to be the NASA spaceflight team signing off. Unfortunately, did not get that doubleheader tonight. Did get that launch of the Antares NG-14. Northrop Grumman putting a rocket in orbit, keeping the United States on the board there for orbital launches. But SpaceX will be standing by to get an official word from them on what's happening. I'm John Galloway with NASA Spaceflight. Back in the studio this evening, we had Michael Baylor supporting the stream for all the folks out there in the field who we already named. But we are going to go ahead and sign off now. Chris and team, y'all are clear to go ahead and pack up and caravan on out. Y'all, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Chamber pressure looks good. Calling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic. Flight downside, speed off. Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.